Good afternoon. The meeting will now come to order. It is 1:09 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, July 8th, 2022. This is the fourth quarterly meeting of the Commission on the Social Status of Black Men and Boys. It is a public meeting and the live broadcast is on YouTube through the National Press Club. I want to extend a warm welcome to the commissioners, the staff of the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights, and our public audience. Today, in accomplishing the overall mission of the Commission on the Social Status of Black Men and Boys, we want to exchange ideas and expand our research capacity by exploring preventive strategies that would lead to a comprehensive plan for advancing initiatives that will impact the future outlook for Black males in America. As I've said in previous meetings, this commission is not built on politics that divide us. The goal is always to create stronger communities and an equitable society for everyone. We believe it starts with Black men and boys. We began our work in January by deeming the year 2022-2023 as the year of Black men and boys. In keeping with our theme, I'm so pleased to announce that today we'll be having a roundtable discussion on preventive strategies to mitigate the social disparities for Black men in America, followed by a brief business meeting. I now recognize the Commission's program manager, Dr. Marvin Williams, who will conduct the roll call and establish quorum. And I think the technology needs to be adjusted.
Good afternoon. Per the statute, a majority of the members of the commission, which is 10 members, constitutes a quorum. To establish the quorum, I will call each member by name. Please note your presence by saying here. Of course, Chair Wilson.
Here.
Commissioner Al Sharpton. Commissioner Beatty. Commissioner Bowman. Commissioner Brewer.
Here.
Commissioner Colclough. Commissioner Dillard. Commissioner Elder.
Here.
Commissioner Foster. Commissioner Horsford. Commissioner Marshall.
Present.
Commissioner McBath.
Here.
Commissioner McEver.
Here.
Commissioner Olika.
Here.
Commissioner Rhodes. Commissioner Caesar.
Here.
Commissioner Clark.
Here.
Commissioner Jeffries. And Commissioner Johnson. Madam Chair, for the record, please note that a quorum of the commissioners is present. And turning it back over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. The next order of business is the adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll give a motion.
Second.
There a second for the motion?
Second.
We have a motion to approve the agenda, which has been seconded. And do you have any objections? Without objection, the agenda for the meeting is adopted. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today for this important discussion. Throughout my tenure in Congress, I have fought to create a commission on the social status of Black men and boys. I finally achieved my goal when the Senate overwhelmingly passed a bipartisan commission on the Social Status of Black Men and Boys Act. It is one of the most significant pieces of civil rights legislation that Congress has passed since the Voting Rights Act, and the first in response to the murder of George Floyd, and the nationwide protests sparked by that tragedy. The tension between Black men and boys and the police is real and has existed for generations. In fact, the American police force was created after slavery ended to control and torture Black men. Our 19-member commission includes congressional lawmakers, executive branch appointees, issue experts, activists, and other stakeholders who will examine social disparities affecting Black men and boys in America. Based on its findings, this commission will issue an annual report and policy recommendations to Congress, the White House, and federal agencies. I want to thank all of the panelists here today for their commitment to doing the work that it will take to ensure that our boys and men will finally be able to experience the kind of America they richly deserve. Let's keep in mind, today we're talking about prevention, because the individual that is being released from incarceration is not the individual he was when he went in. No, he is hardened, he is wise. He has learned how to beat the system, and he has learned from the best other criminals. So we can either pay now or we can pay later. And today, that's why we're concentrating on prevention before they become hardened criminals. When a baby is born, the doctor says, Miss Wilson is a boy. They don't say Miss Wilson is a murderer or a thief. So what happens between birth and when that 14-year-old has the courage to pick up a gun and terrorize the community? What can we do? What should we do? We can either pay now or pay later by incarcerating young Black boys. I say immediately create universal pre-K and mandatory K all over the nation. Recruit Black male teachers, fund tuition-free HBCUs as reparations pattern after tribal policies. Recruit and incentivize Black counselors and mental health workers just for Black males. Establish in-school tutoring, not after-school tutoring, by creating primary learning centers for small, struggling groups of boys during the school day. Make every school day an extended school day with sports and chess and music, drama, and technology. We pay $1 million for schools, and yet they close at 3 o'clock. They should also be able to take a meal home. So we say we can pay now or pay later. Make uniforms mandatory. Issue them just like textbooks. Every boy wears the same outfits, the same sneakers, the same shirts, and the same pants. Study single-sex schools and their long-term outcomes. Not one Black boy should leave high school without a plan. We don't want them all dressed on graduation day with no place to go. Fill young Black boys' summers with field trips outside of their communities, museums, plays, musicals, the zoo, oceanic trips, in-state, out-of-state, all summer long exposure. Fill big Black boys' summers with internships, summer jobs, tours to state capitals and the nation's capital, and college tours. Teach Black boys how to deal with the police. You say, freeze, do not move. Never run from the police. Never fight the police. Remember the badge number and name and report it to a trusted adult. annual checkups for the family at a family health center, and you concentrate on your family, if we reach out to our own families and pull them up, because all Black families have a Black boy or man who is challenged by the system, a brother, a cousin, a daddy, a nephew, a son, a grandson. Help them, invest in them. Establish and expand college classes for incarcerated men around Pell Grants, award Pell Grants, and increase technical vocational skills in prison. Pay prisoners fair wages for their work and save it. And upon release, give it to them as they return to society. Now, let's get started. I want to thank and acknowledge our roundtable participants for this national discussion. Commissioner Clark, our Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, an amazing scholar at this hour in this time, will serve as the moderator and offer introductory comments to set the tone for the discussion. She is our star. Without further ado, let's begin our discussion. Before turning the meeting over to the moderator, I want to introduce the panelists. Dr. Gregory C. Hutchings, Jr., the Superintendent for Alexandria City Public Schools. And I'd like for Dr. Gregory Hutchings, Jr. picture to be shown on the screen, if possible. Technology. Commissioner Jack Brewer, founder, CEO of the Brewer Group. Can we see Commissioner Jack Brewer? Dr. Robert Simmons, Head of Social Impact and STEM Programs. Mr. Troy Vincent, Vice President of Operations for the NFL. Mr. Timothy Belcher, Sr., a former police chief and special advisor to the city manager of North Miami Beach. Thank you so much for being with us today. We are honored by your presence, and I look forward to the discussion. Now, I'm excited to bring forward our moderator and our commissioner. So we will call her Commissioner Clark. I'm so proud to serve with her on the commission. So at this time, I will turn the discussion over to Commissioner Clark for her comments that will lead us into the discussion, which she will moderate. Commissioner Clark.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair Wilson. It is wonderful to see you and all of our fellow commissioners today. I am very grateful for your leadership and for convening all of us at this important moment in our nation's history. I am proud to be a part of this discussion today as we come together to identify constructive solutions and proactive strategies to address many of the problems and disparities that are facing Black men and boys all across our country today. And we know that the challenge is figuring out 21st century approaches to these issues and best practices that can help ensure that Black men and Black boys enjoy full access to every sector of society. I should note that this discussion today is a continuation of the conversation that we began at our April meeting, where we examined disparities in the context of the criminal justice system. Very briefly, by way of recap, we heard from Representative Clyburn, who offered up a historical perspective, reminding us that disparities that we see today are not new, but have manifested themselves in this country for generations. He encouraged us to think about legal and legislative fixes to address the problems that Black men and boys are confronting today. I highlighted in my remarks 2 criminal justice priorities that I and my colleagues at the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division are pursuing, ensuring that there is accountability in the public's interaction with law enforcement. And I'll just note that yesterday, Derek Chauvin was sentenced to 21 years in our federal prosecution of Mr. Chauvin for the killing of George Floyd. I also talked about our work to address conditions inside our nation's jails and prisons and juvenile detention facilities. Representative Hank Johnson joined us as well to talk about legislative priorities for criminal justice reform with a particular focus on drug policies, which he has championed. And then we also heard from Desmond Meade, who spoke passionately about issues facing returning citizens who are seeking access to the ballot and restoration of voting rights. And finally, we heard from Dr. Raymond Hart, who spoke about the school to prison pipeline and the ways that criminalization of juvenile behavior has a particularly harmful effect on Black boys. So we've got a firm foundation that was laid for us at our last public meeting. And today we're going to build on that and expand on that discussion to really dive into talking about strategies. That's what we're going to hear from our panelists today. We're going to focus on strategies for prevention and mitigation. And I am excited because we've got a panel of experts that come to us from a variety of disciplines who are going to lead us through a discussion on issues that range from addressing the achievement gap between Black boys and other peer groups. We're going to talk about inequities and access to STEM programs for Black boys. We're also going to talk about disproportionately high rates of joblessness and other obstacles to equal opportunity in the workplace for Black men and Black boys. And we'll talk about the conditions that must be corrected to ensure that Black men and boys' interactions with the criminal justice system are constitutionally sound and just. As always, our goal is not only to identify the problems contributing to the disparities, but again, to really dig deep on strategies for prevention and education. So without delay, I want to turn the floor over to our panelists. And I want to start first with Dr. Gregory Hutchings. It is wonderful to have you here with us, Dr. Hutchings. My question for you to get us started, there was a recent May 2022 article that appeared in the Public School Review that outlined strategies for addressing critical areas relating to Black boys in school systems throughout the country. And although many school systems have developed strategies aimed at boosting graduation rates, reducing crime and violence, and establishing role model programs, little has been done to close the achievement gap for young Black men. And I know that you have experience as a superintendent and as someone who has served as a director of pre-K through 12 programs and special initiatives. So talk with us about the national strategies that you would propose to address and mitigate the achievement gap that we see among Black boys and young Black men in public education, and how would those strategies work or be implemented?
Well, Commissioner Clark, thank you for the question. Also, at first, I just want to thank Congresswoman Wilson as well for hosting this and hosting me and us to have this very important discussion. I think first and foremost, as a nation, we need to accept the fact that Black men are human beings. How about that? Just acknowledge that. We talk about Black Lives Matter. You look at the tail end of the stick. A lot of our Black men have received the tail end for over 400 years. And what we are not doing is we're not dismantling the systemic racism that's occurring all over this nation, particularly in our public educational systems. Right now, unfortunately, I see so many people trying to discredit what public education means and does for children, especially for Black males, because there are some school systems that are doing very good things for our Black males, but there are many of them that have some challenges that we need to be unapologetic about calling out. I think when we think of the national strategy, and I'm glad you asked, what do we do as a nation? And the first thing is having representation of Black men and Black people in general in education. You know, one thing I've shared with many of my educational colleagues is that we sometimes discredit our own profession. We say, oh, you don't want to be a teacher. Oh, you don't want to go into education. You can't make that kind of money, right? And education is, I believe, one of the most impactful professions that are out there. It's very rewarding. Sometimes you may not reap your benefits within a year, but 20 years later, people come back and say, you've changed my life. So we need to see more Black men in education and not in the superintendency role, which I do want to see more of us. Trust me, it's only 3% Black people who are superintendents across this nation right now. So we do need more Black superintendents, but we need more Black male teachers in the classroom so that these young men can see that representation and see people that can be role models to them. We also need to make sure that we have Black men sitting at the table to make this curriculum, right? We are constantly in many states, you know, they're putting together their lesson objectives and their state curriculums and developing, you know, their assessments for their state to hold schools accountable. But we don't see a lot of Black men at the table to provide feedback on what some of these lessons should look like and what should be actually taught to our Black males in our classrooms across this country. And then I also feel, and this is something that I think is a key point that I see many folks around this country right now trying to dismantle, which is having real conversations about our history and the pride of what Black people have done and contributed to the United States of America, and being able to talk about our truth, right? The fact that race is a construct that was put in place to do exactly what it's doing today, right? And why people don't want us to learn about our history is because if we learn about our history, we're going to be able to change tomorrow for the better. And some people don't want it to be better, right? Some people want to continue to have the privilege that they are consistently having in public education and also across this nation. So, you know, those are 3 specific things. I can go through 20 though, right? But I felt like those were 3 key areas that, you know, the nation can do to help our Black boys. And that is having that representation and making sure that we have Black teachers in our classrooms, having Black men at the table to develop our curriculum, and making sure that our history is being taught so that our Black men can know where they come from, so they can have the pride and know that you stand on the shoulders of so many who molded America to be what it is today.
Thank you very much for sharing those observations, particularly the importance of representation at every level, from teachers all the way up through the leadership roles and leadership ranks. You know, we need to see representation among superintendents as well. So thank you for that. I know that you often end your remarks noting that we are better together than apart, and having history, a full account of our nation's history is so critical to promoting that kind of cohesion. So thank you.
Thank you.
I want to move